I think he was known for being a really good showman. He was a very good frontman.
He was very charismatic on stage. He always knew how to rile up a crowd.
Everyone would always definitely talk about the voice because for his stature, it's unexpected. You don't think, that's going to come out of him.
The rapport that he generates with crowds, never seen anything like it.
I think it's like, most people think that he knows much about a shirt lah. And that's one of the things that I find cool about him.
Everybody loves him. And I'm just saying, God, you never grew up with this guy.
So everybody just thought Casey is into music because his uncles were musicians, but actually that's not the case at all. How I got into it was actually skateboarding. My peers, one of my friends who was also in Caracal, we both started skateboarding around the same time, in secondary school, and what came with skateboarding was music as well. So, we started listening to a lot of punk bands and punk rock bands, and I think that was the gateway into wow, this kind of music is not lame. This was back in, I think, 2004 or 5 or 6. Either one of those years. It was a long time ago. They needed a new guy to sing, and then they asked me. So I was like, oh, why the hell not? Because I was sort of a fan of them. I used to go to their shows. They used to play house shows, and then I joined the band basically. So we were one of the youngest guys at that point of time to play Bay Beats, and this was alongside really, really big local names and really, really big overseas acts. It was the benchmark of every musician in Singapore to reach, just to play Bay Beats. It was the biggest festival we had.
Caracal was actually a blessing that I didn't even see happening. I didn't even know Casey could play guitar. When he got his computer, he started gaming. He disappeared into his room, and after that, I didn't know what he did. I had no idea. Get him out of his room? No. Eat with the family? No. He was just in a cave. He became a hermit. It was like he divorced me completely.
My dad, he was never what we call a creative person. He's really good with numbers, he's a complete straight A kind of guy. And I went off the beaten path, and I found skateboarding and I found music, and he never really told me that I couldn't do it, but he always wanted the best for me in a sense. He's a stern man. He's a really stern guy. I guess that sort of kind of forced me to put up a wall between him and I, because he was stern and I was, a bit more creative, and because he was stern, I thought that he didn't want to reach out to me or speak to me, when I was younger. Back in 2015, basically, that year was the year when we got invited to play Summer Sonic in Japan. During that same month, Grease Monkey was opening up, and I'm the head of Grease Monkey, and there was a lot on my plate at that point in time. On top of that, I was drinking pretty heavily already prior to all of this, but I guess when everything piled up, it just started to really affect me in a sense, so I started to drink way more than I usually do. There were times where I just snuck away just to get a couple cans of booze, and it was just to get me to a nice buzz, but that would roll over into me being half drunk and performing half drunk. On stage, they could clearly see that it was completely affecting me fully because I was doing weird things. Obviously, my vocals were not on point, but my entire personality, I think, was a bit off. So I would have to come into work, and I couldn't work because I've been drinking so much at that point that my hands would start to shake if I didn't have a beer. And I'll come in and I wouldn't be able to cut because my hands would be shaking. So I'll come in at 11, 12 and I'll have 2 beers immediately so that my hands would stop shaking so I can cut hair. But by 3, 4 p.m, I would already have 6, 7 beers in me.
So whenever we fought, when we were both drunk, it would just be really just senseless fighting. And it would just go on. So we'll enjoy the first hour of the night. And then the next 5 hours will just be just really just yelling and fighting over nothing. And then the next day I'd wake up and go to work. And he'd not go to work because he'd be hungover or whatever.
I was putting up walls for on my own. Like, it wasn't any influence from her part. It wasn't influence from my family or the band. I just kept putting up these weird boundaries between us and people.
How much did the alcohol play a part in that?
All of it.
Everything.
All of it. Because it's,
Like, we won't fight when we're sober.
Yeah. I think the first time I realized that there was an issue was very early on when we were dating, because we were drinking at Cascaden and everything was amazing, having a great time. He goes to the bathroom, he comes back, and then completely changed.
Everyone told me like, hey, just like that, why are you so angry all of a sudden, you know? It's like from me singing Bohemian Rhapsody on the table of Mogambo, suddenly I'm outside Mogambo's angry at the world.
Jill was also telling me a lot that I wasn't aware of, was constantly fighting, breaking up, making up. In some cases, really hardcore fights. So I knew there was a problem there. But he doesn't want to listen to his father. He doesn't want to talk to his father. So there was not a whole lot that I could do to help the guy. I always wanted to tell him the past and the current way of life is going to catch up with you at some point.
I don't wanna wait for regret. Every little chance that I get makes me feel like I have to choose between this life or this threat.
And if I'm not wrong, we had jamming that night. If I remember correctly, we had practice that night and I woke late again. When I went to Cheers, as I went into Cheers, like Martin was in Cheers. So I was like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? He's like, hey, bro, we want to talk to you. You got 5 minutes, we are all there. So I was like, oh, okay, that caught me a little bit off guard. So I crossed the street and they were all there and they basically said like, we just want to let you know, things haven't been the same. You know, something's been up with you and we're going to carry on the band without you lah. So that was what happened. When that night happened, like, part of me was actually relieved because I was already like planning to, you know, tell them that, you know, I just want to like chill for a while, I want to take a break. But I mean, these are guys that I knew for like a decade, you know, almost a decade or more even. So that just turned into rage and anger and being angry at them and having a lot of resentment. We headed to Orchard Towers one night and I think there was a fight going on there and we sort of got into an altercation with it was just like a verbal altercation, I think, with this is what happened from what I recall, with another group. As we were leaving, some cops came to screen because they heard there was an altercation and they obviously saw me and I'm covered in ink, right? So what happened was they screened me, I got angry, I started scolding them, you know, obviously I was being very vulgar with them. And because I was being very vulgar, they were like, no, this is not acceptable, arrest this fella. So they arrested me. I was like, you know what, like, yeah, fuck it lah, arrested, you know, arrest me. And as I was going out, I, for some reason, I don't know why, decided lah, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna try and hit this guy. So I turned around and kneed one of the officers in his groin. And that's when they pinned me and I was like, okay, this is it lah. The next thing I knew, I woke up, I think it was like the next day in like Tanglin HQ division in a padded cell, like a solitary padded cell, because apparently I was violent. And yeah man, that was like the big thing that happened to me back then.
The night I found out he was arrested, he was just put into the lockup. Actually, he was pretty incoherent at that point.
So I got my phone call, I called my dad and I just, when he answered, I said, look, I'm sorry, I got arrested last night. I really fucked up. And you know what, I really deserve this. You don't need to come and get me.
At that point I told him, you know, you have to deal with this. I can't. You got yourself into this mess. You got to get yourself out of it. Now, if there's any way I can help, we're all here to help.
And he didn't say anything but, don't worry, we love you, just hang in there. That's all he said. And I think that was like the one line that really just came down on me like a ton of bricks. Like I was like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, I was just like, shit. It was like, I mean, I don't believe in God anymore, but like that was like a very prodigal son moment, you know what I mean? And that just like hit me lah. I was like, you know, for such a stern dude, like you would expect him to be like, yeah, just fucking rotten there, right? But like he still managed to make me feel at ease with myself when I was locked up. I think my priorities already had changed before prison because I quit drinking the night I got arrested. And as soon as I got arrested, I was like, that this is it lah. You know, I've hit rock bottom. There's only like two ways this can turn out. Either I carry on and I eventually off myself, or you know, I just stop all this bullshit and continue. So continue to do, I mean, not continue to do better, but to do better. After I came out from prison, I just really didn't want to like play music. I just wanted to cut hair and focus on work lah. But that's also because like I think there was still a lot of emotional baggage attached to the music I was listening to, and it took a while for me to feel it again. But eventually I did feel it again, and I've always wanted to do like a more stripped down acoustic folk sort of style of music. And I guess that was like my gateway into music again, where I felt like, oh, I feel a little bit more like better doing this. Like it was almost cathartic, you know, like it was a release from everything that has happened. A lot of people say like, oh wow, do you feel like, you know, like a big part of your personality had been taken away? But to be honest, like no, because I sort of like this shock actually like ended up being the next big important thing in my life, you know, because people started to actually, you know me for something else, and that's giving a good haircut. So in a sense, like I lost something and I gained something else, so that was good. Yeah, man. Deadweight was an acoustic song that I wrote in my bedroom before I went to prison, just mucking around with the acoustic guitar, and I just wrote the chorus. I wrote it when I was still quite pissed off with the band, my old band, and with Caracal, and the lyrics, I think you can sort of tell for themselves, you know, it's about a bunch of people, you know, laughing at someone for going, like, you know, falling down instead of helping him up. So it kind of spoke to me a lot lah, I mean, and I think it still does, but in a very different light. There was a lot of word already going around like, wow, Casey is so different now, Casey is so different now. And I think the first person who actually like reached out to me was Jude, when he was still in the band. And he needed a haircut, and he came to the shop, he got a haircut, and he was like, oh dude, you're so different. And we just ended up talking lah. And I guess from there, he went back to them, and you know, he's like, well, Casey is doing well, you know, he's doing well for himself and stuff like that.
I think when we came into this, we all knew that we sort of like had our life responsibilities to deal with, right? We're not gonna like put down everything and then say like, yeah, we can go on tour and like, you know, just drop our full-time jobs and like whatnot. I mean, when I first started this, I was in uni and I was like, and he was working already, and I think Luke was also in school, so we're like, we made it very clear lah. So I think it's very true in that sense whereby he says that this is very much a passion project.
She fell down. When I was in prison, I was about midway done, and I had this dream that we both had a little girl, and she was in a white dress and had curly hair. And that was like, it was just a random dream that I had.
Yeah, the first thing he was like, if we have a daughter, can we name her Lily? And
Yeah.
I'm like, why? And then I had a dream and all this da-da-da-da. And this was the first time that he on his own, he was making, in my opinion, plans for the future lah. Like he would never ever, we were together for 5 years. I think it was, a sign that he was looking toward the future, even though it was like a random dream. It did give him something to work towards. So that was cool.
I was pretty sure that once he went in, he would come out a changed person, without a doubt. I didn't know how long it would take, but the fact that they let him out early on work release without a tag surprised me. The biggest change since he got out of prison is one that impacts me. I now have a son. I don't know how else to say it. because up until that point, he was anything but a son.
You know, I'm far from what I think it's a model son, but I think that in some way, like even though like I went through, like you could say, hell and back, I think I did make him really proud. Having a wife and a kid and a family to feed, you know, I think that is the biggest change that has been in my life, from worrying about what to do on stage and rock out. Like right now, it's like worrying if I'm gonna make enough money to put food on the table, you know, and watching my daughter grow up. I think that should be the biggest thing in my life right now, man. The alcohol sort of gave me a persona and stuff like that on stage, which, you know, some people liked a lot, and obviously that turned a little bit back down the road. But playing sober now, I'm a lot more conscious now, because now I actually want people to, you know, listen to what I'm saying more than what I'm doing on stage. And I think that's important lah. It'll be my 5th time playing Bay Beats, and it's gonna be Sun Eater's 1st time playing. I mean, it's dope because it's their 20th anniversary and I'm playing it lah. I rather just put out music that is gonna make me and the rest of the guys in the band happy, and, you know, music that when we play live, we feel shook, and that's it lah.
Torn mind, tired eyes, please don't let the light inside